Round 7 and 8 of the Vodacom Sports Prototype Championship at Aldo Scribante in Port Elizabeth. And everything to go for the points leaders. Bernard Talanis starts the weekend as favourite, leading Neil Lobb and defending champion George Ferreira. And for some, a special mootie for breakfast may just do the thing.
So Neil, we see Formula One drivers go into their motorhome, get served by the caterers. Is this your breakfast, is it?
This has got real good meaning to it. There's a tradition behind it. When Clive and myself started bike racing, this is what we lived on. Excepting we've upgraded now to the modern times. This used to be a cardboard carton. Now we're using the new plastic containers. But it certainly works. Weet-Bix is good for you. It builds up the energy and the strength. Watch us go to that.
Well, it may have worked for Clive Kennedy looking at the qualifying positions. He's in 3rd, but Neil Lobb down in 8th position. Maybe he should have added some sugar there. Championship leader Bernard Talanis will only start in 7th. George Ferreira in pole position.
Clive, trying very hard in qualifying.
Yeah, you have to. You know, you don't get that much time on the track. We lost 2 sessions in the morning because of the weather. So, yeah, we had to give it all our best during the qualifying. I'm just very glad for our sponsors, Standox and DeWalt, that we've got it on the 2nd row of the grid.
Including a spin at the S's?
Yeah, you know, like I say, you're trying a little bit too hard. I have a problem with a little bit of oversteer, but hopefully I got that corrected for the race. So we'll take it in the race. I think the times are a little out of the norm. I think some of the guys at the back, Bernard had problems, Neil had problems, so I think it's going to be tight. I think it's going to get to be a fun race.
16 cars on the grid, led to the line by George Ferreira in pole position. They're waiting for the lights to go off, and they floor the accelerators. George Ferreira gets a good start, but Donovan Roscoe on the right-hand side of your screen actually gets a much better start. He moves over and takes the line to the inside of Luck Repka, the first corner, and Donovan Roscoe goes into the lead ahead of George Ferreira. Clive Kennedy goes wide. Francois Gerber is right there as well, as we pick them up through the Continental S's for the first time. It is Donovan Roscoe, then George Ferreira. Francois Gerber has indeed muscled his way past Clive Kennedy into 3rd position as they sort each other out through the kink for the first time, coming up to the hairpin. And Donovan Roscoe, here comes George Ferreira down the inside as he made it. Just have to wait and see. No problem so far in this race. That's Richard Wood in the digital car. And the battle developing in the midfield already, with Neville Jordan being pressed hard there by Terry Voller as the rest of the field go through Firehawk sweep for the first time. Now the end of lap 1, and Donovan Roscoe is under some serious pressure from George Ferreira, the reigning champion, Francois Gerber, then Clive Kennedy, and Bernard Talanis has moved up a position as well. He's up into 5th place. Here they come into Luck Repko again. Bernard Talanis has a look down the inside of Clive Kennedy, who's going backwards very fast. And Bernard Talanis in the Platinum Asset Management car, who had not a very good qualifying session, is making the best of this early part of the race. Up into 4th. Bernard Talanis, very experienced driver. He's the former South African National Drivers Champion in the 70s in single-seaters, and also did some saloon car racing in those days. And he's moving, going wide there. It gives Clive Kennedy a chance to look down the inside, but no. And Kennedy has his teammate Neil Lobb right up his exhaust pipe too. Behind them comes Alan Eve. He finished 2nd in the championship last year and has not had a good season so far. Lap 6 out of 15, and Donovan Roscoe, George Ferreira and Francois Gerber has now broken away from this group behind them. Bernard Talanis is also right there. And here comes George Ferreira down the inside. A beautiful outbreaking maneuver. Donovan Roscoe had no answer for that, and he had to give way. Francois Gerber is also now looking at getting past Donovan Roscoe. Meanwhile, this battle for 5th and 6th is still continuing between the Standox car of Clive Kennedy and Neil Lobb in the DK Laminates car, and Alan Eve is also there. He's dropping back slightly. New leader, George Ferreira, Donovan Roscoe, Francois Gerber, and Bernard Talanis. And Talanis definitely on a move. He's taken 1 position the previous lap, and here he comes down the inside of Francois Gerber. This is where the experience shows, and again, Francois Gerber has absolutely no choice, and he has to let Talanis through. Great drive by Talanis. Started way down the order and up into 3rd position already. But George Ferreira is starting to open up a gap over Donovan Roscoe, now coming under pressure from Bernard Talanis, and he will not enjoy the sight of that white car in his rearview mirrors. Clive Kennedy and Neil Lobb still fighting it out for 5th position, just a little bit further back. And then behind them, oh, and there's a problem again for, I think it's Terry Voller. Terry Voller just spinning out into turn 1. This is Alan Green being chased by Tony Trotsky and Richard Wood. And then Dave Beattie right behind them. A nice battle further down the field as well. This is the nature of Vodacom Sports Prototype Championship Racing. These cars are very equal in terms of performance, all powered by the Nissan V6 3.5-litre engine, which was new for this year. Richard Woods has a look down the inside. Tony Trotsky just closes the door for him as they power their way down the main straight. At the front of the race, it is George Ferreira pulling away from Donovan Roscoe, Bernard Talanas, then Francois Gerber still in 4th position. Clive Kennelly is keeping his teammate Neil Lobb behind him. Talanas went a little bit wide there on the exit of the Toyota hairpin. Oh, and he must have a problem. Goes wide on the exit of the Firestone Firehawk sweep. Does well to keep the car out of the tyre walls. The spectators scattering all over the place. But he would have lost 3 places. Falls back to 6th place. That allows Clive Kennelly and Neil Lobb and Francois Gerber, in fact, all 3 to move up 1 position each. So George Ferreira seems to have it all under control. Donovan Roscoe in a solid 3rd position. Here comes Clive Kennelly. Oh, that was never on. Clive Kennelly just outbrakes himself into like Repco corner, and there was just one thing that would inevitably happen, and the car would lose control. So he drops down as well. The race order is shaken up as we get to the final stages of the race. George Ferreira, Donovan Roscoe, Francois Gerber, then Neil Lobb. There is Bernard Talanas in 5th place, Alan Eve in 6th position. He's just ahead of Damien Frost. Clive Kennelly has dropped down to 8th place. And that is probably the order in which they will finish. Race leader George Ferreira, just a few more corners to go, and he will take the checkered flag for the first time today. There it comes, George Ferreira, 2.5 seconds ahead of Donovan Roscoe. And the final place on the podium goes to Francois Gerber. He's about 3.5 seconds further back. Neil Lobb goes through in 4th place ahead of Bernard Talanas, who will not be happy with that 5th position. Alan Eve in 6th place, Damien Frost in 7th, and Clive Kennelly finishes the race in 8th.
George, very well done. It seemed for a few laps Donovan was holding you up, because once you got past him, you pulled out a good 2.5 second lead.
Yes, I just wanted us to break away from a back before I attacked Donovan. I saw he was very slow through the sweep on top, and that's where I just had a run on him and outbrake him into the hairpin.
Did you see what was going on behind you?
I saw Francois in the mirror for a couple of laps, and then I said to myself, stop looking in the mirror and look in front.
Good advice there. Part of the Vodacom Power Tour as it goes around the country is the sideshows, and the huge PE crowd enjoyed some real spectacular aerobatics. But from the action in the air to the action on the ground, round 8 of the Vodacom Sports Prototypes, another 15-lap action-packed race ahead of us. George Ferreira leads them over the line to start the race in pole position, and he hogs the inside line. That's the defensive line, so George Ferreira gets a good start. Donovan Roscoe goes around the outside, tries to get past Francois Gerber, but Gerber has the inside line. He will have the inside line for the right hand into the Continental S's as well. And George Ferreira, good start there from Francois Gerber, Donovan Roscoe, Neil Lobb being pushed very hard by Alan Eve as the field goes through the kink for the first time. The crowd really enjoying the racing here today. George Ferreira into the Toyota hairpin, Francois Gerber in 2nd, then Donovan Roscoe, Neil Lobb, there is Bernard Talanas, Alan Eve, that is Clive Kennelly up into 6th place already. Damien Frost being pushed hard there by Tony Cook as they sort each other out around the first lap out of 15. Some midfield battles developing already, and Terry Voller gets it wrong under braking. He seems to have been struggling all day long. And at the back of the field, Melville Priest, who had a problem in the first race and had to start this race from pit lane. Race order as they come across the line. George Ferreira, Francois Gerber, Donovan Roscoe in 3rd, Neil Lobb being chased by Bernard Talanas and Alan Eve. Those are the top 6. And Clive Kennelly has a look down the inside of Damien Frost. Clive Kennelly has lost a number of places. Tony Cook right there behind him, and problems definitely for Terry Voller, and he's on his way to retirement, pulls the car into the pits, and unfortunately that is the end of the race for him. Lap 8 out of 15, the top 2 have broken away. George Ferreira being chased by Francois Gerber. Donovan Roscoe is struggling, and he's under some real pressure from that man, Bernard Talanas. Then Neil Lobb just behind them, and Alan Eve also struggling today. This is the battle for 3rd. as the top two have been able to pull out a huge gap over the rest of the field. Donovan Roscoe, Bernard Talanis and Neil Lobb. Those are the two main protagonists in this group, at least in the championship. George Ferreira will catapult higher up the order. He was third in the championship, but if he stays where he is, he will certainly get into at least second position. And as we wait for this battle to resolve itself, further back in the field behind Clive Kennelly, he is in seventh. The battle for eighth between young Damien Frost and Tony Cook. There is Vodacom's Neville Jordan, or just behind him. And it's the young versus the old at the moment. Damien Frost, the youngest in the field, and Tony Cook, one of the senior members of this fraternity, as George Ferreira goes into the Toyota hairpin once again. And Francois Gerber is not too far behind him. Ferreira cannot afford to relax for a minute. It's the reigning champion versus a former champion, and Francois Gerber would like nothing more than to get close to George Ferreira and take that first place away from him. Meanwhile, this battle for eighth still continues. Damien Frost is doing a great job holding off Tony Cook. Going through the Holiday Inn sweep there, that's the fastest part of the track. They do something like 180 kilometers an hour, then into the slowest corner on the track. The Toyota hairpin, they go right down to first gear. Hard on the brakes, of course, and then you've got to get your line exactly right under acceleration. 2 more laps to go in this race, and still George Ferreira is being hounded all the way by Francois Gerber. Donovan Roscoe is in a solitary third position, and these three have now virtually sorted out their positions. But the battle of the race is still the one between Damien Frost and Tony Cook, and just ahead of them, it's Clive Kennelly, who seems to once again outbrake himself into the same corner. And I don't think he's going to lose too many positions, although Damien Frost and Tony Cook will be closing right up there with him. Here comes Tony Cook down the inside into the right-hander. Frost opens up the lead, the gap for him there. And Tony Cook goes through to take that 8th position away. The crowd was really enthralled by this battle. It continued right throughout the race. Here's our race leader, George Ferreira from Francois Gerber. Still in 3rd position is Donovan Roscoe. Bernard Talanis holding down that 4th place. Neil Lobb still in 5th position, and Alan Eve is in 6th place as this race winds down. And it seems that George Ferreira, oh, there's a problem for Damien Frost. Unfortunately, the youngster seems to have a problem, and that car does not sound very healthy at all. And what a pity. On the final lap, George Ferreira well on his way to his 2nd victory of the day. Francois Gerber gets it a little bit sideways under braking there for the hairpin, but he's in a safe 2nd position, and George Ferreira will be absolutely delighted with this race victory, and also his first race victory, which will move him well up the order in the point standings. Into and out of Goodyear Corner for the final time. The reigning champion is back in contention, scoring 40 points on the day, a full house of points after missing one of the previous rounds in East London. And Francois Gerber goes across the line in 2nd place. I suppose that's the best he could hope for on the day. Donovan Roscoe rescues 3rd position ahead of Bernard Talanis, who will not be happy. Neil Lobb in 5th, and Alan Eve completes the top 6.
Good for the championship.
I can't wish for better. I don't know where Bernard and Neil finished, but as I said, they have to throw away, and maybe this is the race I want to throw away, and I think I'll be leading.